Hey, hi. Welcome to Ashbrook Live. We're going to, in just a moment, go into Lamont Price, great stand-up comic who joins us today from Boston. Yay, Boston. You can find him on Comedy Central and Hulu and Amazon Prime, comedy clubs across the country, comedy festivals across the country, creator of the comedy tent at Boston Calling, big event here for music, but with comedy also, thanks to Lamont and others who have jumped in there. Sometimes the world is just too wild, maybe all the time, for political scientists and sociologists and all the rest to really get it. We have to trust comedians to look straight at it and talk straight to us about what they see. And we're looking forward to doing that with Lamont today. I think he's with us, and I want to bring him right in. The great Lamont Price, ladies and gentlemen, if we can pull him in right now. Lamont, are you there, my friend? Bring it in, bring it down, bring it in, bring it down. We want to see you with us. There, Lamont, welcome.
Hey,
thank you.
1 second. How are you? I have the wrong background up.
The right background is everything, huh?
I had a background that I forgot I had on for a Zoom call from a few days ago.
It's totally fine. We're really happy to have you here. We don't care the background.
But now I have my actual background. I knew what kind of show I was going to be on. So I figured it would make me look smart if I was sitting in front of a fireplace.
Yeah, fireplace. Nothing like it.
I do. I make a lot of faces like this.
Whoa, yes, I'm deeply impressed. I'm deeply impressed.
I read a book this year.
Hey, good going. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Let me ask, how's your family, first of all? Because there's so much crap going around. Is everybody all right? How's the health? How's it going?
Well, yeah, no, my family, all things considered, knock wood and stuff.
Yeah. We all do.
Doing pretty good. My mom's had a history of heart problems, so she had a bit of an issue in October, but that's kind of been taken care of. But as of right now,
on the COVID front, everything's cool. You've managed to escape that. My family has not escaped it. My wife had COVID, but you doing all right?
As of right now, yeah. I don't want to jinx it.
No, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. I mean, we're watching this thing. I saw yesterday that COVID-19 is now in Antarctica.
I saw that. I saw that, and I don't know how to get there. Like
somebody obviously flew in, and everybody flies around thinking, I feel fine. And of course, at the same time, people often have it.
If Santa Claus can't escape it, I don't know.
Exactly. Santa Claus. Yeah. I don't know what we do about it. It's just here. And can you imagine? You've seen those trailers that they have hooked together at the South Pole or wherever it is. There's no escaping there. If you're in there with COVID, it's like being in a COVID ward, I suppose. I mean, you can't just run outside for all your conversations when it's polar weather.
There's no outdoor dining in Antarctica.
Not too much. Not too much. Listen, you're a good sport to be here today, and we're bringing you on to represent comics all over the world because comedians, my sense is, they make us laugh because they tell us truth, and I appreciate that. And they're good at wrapping it up in a way that really gets the giggle in there or really gets it in deep, but it's wrapped around truth, and I appreciate that. So we're coming to you as if to the Dalai Lama to tell us the truth of everything that's going on.
I don't know if I can live up to such things, man. That's lofty in your tweets about me being on here were very flattering, and so I guess best I can do is try to represent comedy in the best way that I can from my perspective and through my truths.
People
so that's what I'm going to try to do.
Please do it. Please do it. People are not performing live much yet, or are they? Is that dead? Is there something going on out there?
I mean, there are things like people. There are some people that I don't feel comfortable doing any live shows. I haven't personally done one since March. All the shows that I have done have been via Zoom or any other virtual format. But there are clubs that are opening, and I mean, people are taking their chances with it. I've heard stories of people getting it from doing that, and there's been lots of stories of people haven't. So I don't know how that works. I don't trust it. So you're not going to see me. My mandate has been the same since the beginning. The day they announce all clear, they go, we're good. Everything's fine. you still won't see me for at least another month because, like, I take the PlayStation. The thing about PlayStations, everybody wants that first when the PlayStation comes out.
Yes.
Everybody clamors to get that PlayStation.
Breaking down the door at Best Buy.
Inevitably, there's a glitch, and everybody's gonna bring their PlayStations back. So I'm taking the PlayStation front with this.
Yeah, I hear it. I don't believe that we're going to get that all clear for a long time still. I mean, in my family, the very first person to get the vaccination got it today. I just got a text before we came on here. She's a doctor, good for her. You know, she's out there doing that. But that's the very first one. It's going to take a long time for this thing to roll out. You got to have 2 shots, at least of the Pfizer one, I guess, for it to be effective, 2 weeks apart. People are going to screw that up. So a bunch of people are going to be anti-vaxxers and not do it at all. You got to get something like 70% vaccinated before it really begins to kick in. That looks like a long process to me.
Seems like it. I don't know the logistics of how they decide the rollout timetable, or why not, if we have it, why not just get everybody going? There are going to be those who I can't even wrap my mind around anybody who's like, not me. I'm not going to be like, it doesn't make any sense. It's pure selfishness. It's people swear, like, I'm smart enough to know that I'm stupid.
Same here.
And I think there's a lot of people, like, you can't argue with anybody who just thinks that they're superior in intellect because of goofy reasons they give. Oh, I don't think it'll affect me because I'm outside all the time. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you. It'll take a while. I mean, and my hope is that when the majority of people do take it, and I feel like a good amount will, that obviously if less people have it, then less people can transmit it. And my hope is that in these months coming, as the waves of protocol and the vaccinations happen, obviously there'll be less cases, and that way there'll be less people to contract it, even if they don't have the vaccine yet, because if you don't have it, you can't give it.
I mean, but for this is everything for comedians, right? I mean, ultimately, yeah, everybody wants to have their Netflix special be on Comedy Central or Hulu or wherever, but live comedy is the holy grail, and it's the bread and butter. And that means a room of, at least historically, that has been a room of people at little tables, maybe not too far apart at all, kind of jammed in there. And if you're doing your job, they are laughing hard, which means, ha, 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 COVID, here we come. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a more, maybe choir practice is the next worst thing. But I mean, this seems like the most dangerous environment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything small and indoors and close together is definitely a recipe for disaster for something like this. So that's why I've avoided it. That's why I won't. I mean, around Boston, I don't know of any places that are open as far as comedy clubs. I've heard some places in Texas. I've heard maybe even in some places in New York that are just kind of going like, I'll do it anyway. And, people are definitely getting sick. There's been a lot of outdoor shows, a lot of sort of like drive-in style shows and that people have done. And I know some people who have done them and it's been fine. I've been offered some outdoor stuff and I'm still not going to do it.
When I Joe Biden at the drive-in with the cars, way back there and you up on the stage and people honking and flipping their flashes, the highlights at you. I'm
confident that whatever protection Joe Biden has, I'm not going to get. So the president-elect being out there talking about everything's cool, that's great, but I'm sure there's some sort of technology that they haven't introduced to the rest of us yet, like a force field of some sort, where you're going to be fine. They're not giving it to this. So I'm not going outside. I'll root you on from the comfort of my house and my television.
You're not president-elect. I'm not president-elect. What about you're in Boston, you're in Dorchester, largely Black community, not all, but strong Black community there. What about racial fears around the vaccine? Do you hear that? Do you feel that in the community that you're in every day? Do you think the Black community will be open to this vaccine, as open as other communities? afraid that there's something, to be afraid of here?
Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, but I will say
No.
from what I understand is that, listen, I know plenty of people who are ready for this vaccine. I don't think it's just, I'm not saying that you're saying this, but it's not blanket Black community. But the Black community does have long warranted fears of the medical industry, and there's so much racism involved. And I mean, obviously, people think about such things as, say, the Tuskegee experiment, right?
Of course.
So
Yeah.
you think about that stuff.
Let
There's
them
a
have
lot of
syphilis, let
stories,
them suffer, let them die.
right? I don't trust very well. I don't think that this vaccine is along those lines, but I do understand if people are hesitant. I mean, if you just look at our medical industry today, there are people, Black women especially, who are not often treated properly, who have their fears and their pains and their angst dismissed, which leads ultimately to their demise because they're not given the same courtesy and treatment and attention that, say, their white counterparts get. So there is a distrust, and it's extremely warranted. Although I don't feel this vaccine, and I mean the getting the vaccine, I don't think that's the problem. Now, the distribution of the vaccine, we'll see how that goes. Who decides what communities get it first? I mean, look at what's going on currently as the people on the front lines getting these vaccines. Now, the doctors and nurses and all those people, they need to get it before anybody else, right? Older people need to get it before like anybody else. But now we got obviously politicians, and we go, okay, our leaders need to be healthy because they're our leaders. But when you see people who spent the better part of 10 months denying its existence, being first in line, you might want to flip over a few tables.
Yeah, you might. And then we've seen plenty of those sleeves rolled up, and the politicians acting like I'm demonstrating good citizenship by being first in line here. I'm showing my constituent this is good, this is okay. They're the same ones denying the whole thing. It's really galling to see, I have to say.
So it's frustrating. I mean, and this obviously these 4 years have been like, we have friends that say to you, I remember after the Grinch won the presidency in 2016. And I hate to disrespect the Grinch like that, but it's the best thing I could come up with at that moment. But I remember I had a buddy of mine say something. He was a white guy. He was like, well, I mean, it sucks that he won, but ultimately, the president doesn't have that much power, and things will just go the way they go. And in less than 4 years, we have been banned from the planet.
Yeah, pretty much. Literally, pretty much. You look at that global map, and there we are, that deep, dark red, and nobody wants us coming over.
I mean, it's crazy. We can't go to Canada for fun.
No.
We got to have serious business to go to Canada.
Can you believe how far the U.S. has fallen on front after front after front in 4 years? Your friend wasn't worried about it. Were you? Did you see this coming? Did you feel the vibe?
Well, I tweet about this pretty much a lot. You see, the thing about Trump is, I will say that I did not expect him to win, but I was not at all shocked that he did win. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is, I think sometimes white people make the mistake of thinking that because Obama won, that, we're past those days. Mm-hmm. But they forget a few things. One, you got to look at the president who was before Obama. I mean, first off, just look at the bookend presidents, the president before and after Obama.
Yeah.
Do you think a black version of either one of those guys could have even gotten past the primary? No. I used to joke in my act about the bombastic equivalent of Donald Trump is Don King. And I can make a strong case that he's a much better businessman, right? Yeah. But I asked the crowd, would you ever, if in the 90s, Don King came forward and tried to convince Americans that Bill Clinton was not from this country, he'd be laughed off television.
Yeah, yes.
So why does Trump somehow get, like, even those that hate him, why does he get this respect of, oh, wow. Like, it's not that it's not just that he claimed Obama wasn't from this country.
Yeah.
It's that people entertained it.
Yeah, on and on and on.
Obama had to be virtually spotless to get the same job as these two idiots on either side of him got.
Yeah.
So there's a huge disparity. So back to your original question.
Yeah.
Did I think he could win Trump? No. Was I shocked? No, because I know what this country is. I know what it is. I know it when I walk out of my house every day. I know it from when I'm in sort of majority white spaces.
Yeah.
The questions I'm asked. There's a sort of perceived, we're definitely different deep down kind of vibe. From the even most well-intentioned white person. I have friends that I've had to talk to about this stuff. It's so ingrained when you think of the idea that like even traffic in its essence is racism in a way, if you want to talk about redlining and the highway system and all that stuff. So it's so deep that how do we even crawl out of it? So yes, I knew that Trump was possible.
Okay. This is just, I didn't expect to get here this quick, but here we are. So let's just keep with it. And I love your Don King, Don Trump side-by-side comparison. And could Don King have gotten away with that kind of crazy conspiracy nonsense that Trump did? Would people ride with it? Would they put him in the White House? No, it would have been, forget about it. And yet this is the year after George Floyd's death. We saw all the demonstrations. And we had many professions of I've seen the light. We've seen the light. We got to do this. We have to change this. This is the hinge point. You know, you heard that over and over again over the summer. Of course, there's always skepticism, but people were saying, this is it. America cannot go on this way. We can't go on with this racism so deeply imbued and not called out and not dealt with and not corrected. This is it. This is the turning point. Was it? I mean, here we are. It's Christmas in a day and a half, end of the year. I don't know where that energy is exactly. You can feel there's a very powerful status quo that wants to go on. And yet there are people calling others out and reminding us that we made a commitment this year. Everybody saw George Floyd die. This can't go on. Does this country, you also hear this country simply cannot go on unless it does change. It's reaching a kind of point where it just won't work anymore unless we break through to the next profound chapter where we leave a lot of this racism behind. Do you believe in that progression?
I'm hopeful.
Are you? You're hopeful. That's a big deal in itself.
But that hope doesn't mean I believe it. It just means I'm hopeful. It's a blanket. It's like just personal. Like I hope that people will one day see what it is. I think a lot of, again, this thing is so ingrained that I think a lot of people that are well-intentioned don't even realize their own biases because they think they're doing right. You know, it's the people that ask me, they come to me and they go, what can I do to help? Now that seems great. That really does. It sounds awesome. It sounds genuine.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me as one of the Black people that you may know, what they should do, what you should do, then I question your actual want to do it. Because if it weren't about this issue and you wanted to say, I don't know, learn how to make spaghetti or learn how to, what would you do? Would you ask me? No, you go find out how to do it.
Yeah.
Anything you really wanted, what a weird spaghetti. What is that?
Throw it in the pot.
Think of something better than that.
Yeah.
You'd figure, if you really wanted to know, look up the history of these things. You'd see why things the way they are. You see how these things are compounded. You'd look at your friends that are of color and you'd recognize, you know how many years you've had to, when you look at, when you tell stories about things that have happened to you and people don't believe it. And then, or if you meet a person, like say a white person who's like, oh man, yeah, I got issues with the law too, man. These guys are always hounding me. But then when you hear their stories, you go, well, I mean, dude,
settle down.
You actually did some stuff. I just walked to the store. You know what I mean? Right. I run in with the law. I literally had an instance once where I woke up on a Friday, like I'll say morning, but it was afternoon, and I wanted to go to the Tedeschi's down the street. Now this is in Brighton or Alston, actually.
Yeah.
And I have hair, and I have a lot of hair that sometimes isn't very manageable. So I didn't feel like dealing with it. I just wanted
You got the Questlove thing going there.
I get that a lot. And shout out Quest, musical genius, an icon.
Yes.
So I decided I didn't want to do anything with my hair.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to walk down the street, grab a newspaper, and come home. That was all I wanted to do. So I had a pair of sweatpants on, and I put on a hoodie.
Yeah.
And I put the hoodie up, and I had a wallet in my hand. I had no pockets in my keys. And I walked to the Tedeschi's.
Simple.
And I go in. The newspapers in the Tedeschi's is like literally when you walk in the door, it's to your left.
Right by the door.
Grab the newspaper, and I go right to the counter, and I'm second in line. I look out the window, and I happen to see 2 police officers walk by. Now, if what happened next didn't happen, I would have never remembered this.
Yes.
I walk outside. I'm in the store a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
And one of those cops walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Where you going? Where you coming from?" And I look around, and I notice, mind you, this is Comm Ave.
Major Street.
Yeah, I'm right, like it's Comm and Harvard Ave. Comm Ave and Harvard Ave, that intersection.
Major.
So I see like 5 or 6 police cars. So when I walked in the store, they must have been like, "We got him," and it was like that, right? And so I don't know what's going on, obviously. And I said to the cop, "Now I'm a comic, so I handle these situations with humor." So I just was like, "Just a black guy in a hoodie, officer, nothing to see here." And he pointed at me, goes, "That's not what this is about." I was like, "Okay." Turns out, apparently, some guy was stabbed a few blocks away. I fit the description. Now, mind you, I had no pockets. I had my wallet and keys in my hand.
Yeah.
I don't know where's the weapon and what did I take, right? And I had my newspaper, of course. Now, they made me wait outside, and I took my hoodie off. And I remember I saw my reflection, and because of what society tells me a criminal is, I go, "I did it. Whatever it is, I must have did it." They made me wait on the street until they drove the victim by in a police car to identify me. I don't know why he didn't go to the hospital because he was stabbed.
Yeah.
But the guy looked at me for half a second and was like, "No, that's not him." But because it wasn't me. Now, here's the thing. After all that, the cop, I was out there for 20 minutes. It doesn't matter that I didn't do anything, right? It doesn't matter that I didn't do anything. This is a busy Friday afternoon. Around BU, Comm Ave, that hustle and bustle. I'm a big guy. I can't just hide. I did it. Public opinion, I'm done. Like, oh, it's him. He was the guy this is the neighborhood I live in. This is the guy who was stopped by the police. That's him.
Oh my God.
And after all of that, the cop just pats me on the shoulder and goes, "Thanks, buddy." And just walks off like, ho hum. And I can't describe the anger. An anger that I'm not allowed to act on. The anger that I'm not allowed to express. Not only do we have to take this stuff, we have to also accept it. And you know what I mean?
So I don't, but I hear it and I'm listening. That way I know.
So I think if more people would understand that and more people would just listen and go, you know what, these experiences are definitely outside of anything that I have ever or would ever have to experience. And just listen, because I think people don't want to believe that it could be like this.
When all that was happening, what was running in your head? Were you running the sort of the Trayvon Martin tape of, all the names we know of black men who have been in similar frameworks and ended up dead?
I was frozen, man. Like I was just like, all right. I didn't move. I stayed there. I don't know that like the history was running through my head. I don't think I had my wits about me enough to just kind of start thinking about. I was just like, I'm just trying to get to McDonald's, man, and then go home. Like that's all I wanted to do. So you know, and I gotta. That's the way I handle this stuff. I have to be humorous about it, otherwise I'll flip out.
That's a lot to keep a handle on, and it's.
By the way, that's
Yeah.
just one incident.
Of course.
There's a ton more that
Yeah,
have
I'm
happened to
sure.
me like
I have
that.
no doubt about it. I know you're a big sports fan.
Yeah.
If and I'm sorry about. I know the Patriots. You know, first non-winning season in 20 years, and
It's all good.
okay, okay. I see you're.
No,
good.
it's fine, man. Look, we win all the time. Well, it's just like
Okay.
this season's like when you go to Europe and take a year off and go to Europe before college. This is a gap year for Patriots fans.
Okay.
We need a break. We need a
right.
break from all this winning.
All this winning. All right.
Yeah.
But if I don't even know how to look at it, but if you've got people who are straight up racist in this country, and you've got people who are not, or don't want to be, or think they're not, or try not to be, which team is winning?
What do you mean?
Well, if you've got people in this country who clearly, by their actions, would like white supremacy to go on.
Uh-huh.
And they've got a president in the White House, essentially, who's on the team.
Right.
And you've got others who were straight up out in the streets over the summer, black and white, saying this has got to stop. It's time. I like to think that crew is winning, that perspective is winning. But
well, as of right now, the other team has access to the button. So hey, you know, man, these things are so layered and difficult.
Yeah.
Like those white people that are in the streets with us, and I applaud that, and I mean, and I applaud that in a way where I don't want to be too overly congratulatory, because this is what should be. I shouldn't have to pat you on the back for that. Yep. You should want what's right? Yep. But they're also amongst a large group of people who realized in November of 2016 that their grandparents might not be the nicest people in the world. You know, like everybody just discovered that they have family that might be racist. Like maybe one of the things that we can do to get past this stuff, and it's going to take a long time. It might not even see it in our generation. We might just be setting things up for generations to come to hopefully get it done at some point. But you gotta look inward. You gotta look in your house. You gotta understand what's going on here. You gotta look at the people that you've grown up with, and you need to talk to them. If you want to really make change, don't ask me what you should do. You should go in there and you should talk to those people that you grew up with. Those people that maybe now, you know, you're at an age, you know, the young people in their 20s or whatever, they're at an age where they're an idealistic group. But at some point, you know, you have to face a decision about how much freedom you want, or how much, not even just for yourself, but for people that you know, your fellow man, people who don't look like you. Now, what's easiest for you? A lot of people go, I can't do much more here, so I'll do the easy thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
If you can't address the racism in the house you grew up with, and if you can't face that, then I don't know how much work you can do to the outside, pointing fingers at everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the demographics of the country and what's just happening in terms of numbers and color, and it's going to be it's a browner country already, and it's going to be a lot browner still. And you would think that would mean that down the road we'll just work this out. But right now you've got, you know, you've got people who are just absolutely saying no. They show up at Trump rallies, and not only there, and they just really don't want to go on down this road. They even talk about secession, like let's make some enclaves in, I don't know, Idaho or Montana or wherever. which sounds like white enclaves when I hear it.
Yeah.
And there are days, you grow up with the shadow of Martin Luther King over everything, and the arc of history bending toward justice and all that, and you think, well, yes, sooner or later this will happen. But what if this country just can't get over the hump? What if it just, what if it just can't get there somehow? It's just too easy for people with just enough power that they don't want to do it, and they just won't step up. I mean, I have a feeling some people still don't think it's inevitable. I think it's crazy. I think it's wrong, deeply, profoundly wrong. But in the back of people's minds, I look at faces and maybe they see it coming, but I'm not sure. And I think, could we fail? Could we choke on our original sin of slavery and racism, and that just turns out to be a bone in the throat that we can't figure out, and somehow we, a century plus after the Civil War, we still crack up over it? Can you picture that? Or that just sounds way too...
We're choking on it now. This country is, there's so many people, the promise white people were given from, if you want to, what I like to call the Mr. Burns class, the billionaire types have been, hey, you might be poor. Yeah. Like, you might be poor, but you're not black, right?
You got something.
So ultimately, everybody thinks that, well, okay, I don't have much now, but I have the promise of getting anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not them.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm not them. And as long as people believe that, then, this is why so many people vote against their own interests. You got people that are like, right now, with what's going on in the country with the pandemic, where you have a president who's clearly, has he even mentioned this once in the last 2 months? He's just been crying about, I won the election. Like, that's another, and people are dying in many places at record numbers at many places, full of people that support him. And yet how many things does he have to do? He leaves them stranded in the freezing cold after his rallies. He doesn't care about them. And yet they still come. They still support him in droves. And why? Because he's going to make America what they think America should be, which for some reason is an episode of Leave It to Beaver. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
This is what their hope is. I am poor. I don't have much, but I'm not them. And the more of them who live around me, it'll make me more like them, and I can't have them ruining my promise of being what I'm supposed to be. And then when it doesn't happen, because they're not given any incentive to move past, say, the coal industry, which is it's, but it's supposed to be. And when they're not reaping the fruits of this industry that is long gone, then it's whose fault is it? Is it mine for listening to these people tell me that I can have anything? It can't be that. It must be them.
Yeah.
They're getting things when they don't realize that a lot of us in the Black community, man, your floor is our ceiling. We're just trying to get on a level. We're just trying to get on a level playing field.
Yeah, it's true.
So any programs put in place, say, affirmative action or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's just to get us to a possible even footing. I wasn't given anything. Actually, yeah, you were. All right. I mean, the advent of the suburbs post World War II, when your great grandparents and your great great grandparents were literally handed stuff. Handed housing that Black people were not given the rights to. My
kids were homesteaders. Black people by and large were not sticking out homesteads. They weren't given big tracts of land as they moved west. They couldn't even do it. They were in chains when my people were getting free land in the West.
And this is why the wealth gap is so ridiculous and will probably remain that way forever. Because of that, because of the leg up given. and the denial of that leg up given to people who look like me. And no one seems to understand that. They listen to these sort of these slogans that that John Wayne America will keep giving. You just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you can get everything you want. Yeah. Keep on working hard. It's like working hard is definitely something to strive for.
Definitely.
But there's a lot of people that I know, a lot of people that I grew up with who work hard constantly, but they're working hard in quicksand.
Do you take this to the stage when you're performing? How much of your body of work draws energy from this subject, this route?
There's a good amount. I mean, I do talk about it. I don't know that it dominates my act, but yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid to discuss things.
Can't be.
I mean, the Don King stuff I talk about on stage. I have talked about on stage.
Yeah.
I remember when Obama was still president, and I did a show, and I was talking about him, and there was an older white man in the back, and he had on I was in the World War II hat, and he was like, "He's not from this country," and I stopped the show. I said, "I'm sorry, he's not from this country," and I was like, "Okay, well, let's explore that." And I asked him, I go, "So you're telling me that this country, the United States of America,
yeah.
the country that you hold dear, the country that you love, the country that you put all your faith and belief in, is so stupid that they have a system that would allow someone who is not from this country to be president?" And he had nothing to say.
What was he doing at your show?
I don't think he knew I was going to be. That was one of those shows where it was like, "Come see Lamont Price."
Yeah.
That was one of those shows where it was like, we came to see a show and Lamont Price just happened to be there.
Right. I guess. Wow. Yeah. Oh man. Tom Brady, you're generous though. I mean, I've seen you go on about Tom Brady, like, because again, I know you're a dyed-in-the-wool sports fan. I know you've been a giant Patriots fan, and I've seen you just wax. I mean, I was on the floor laughing how you sort of deep love for Tom Brady. This is the ultimate kind of white guy in form, in a way, right? But you don't let it stop the love. What's up?
Well, I don't know that I'm hanging out with Tom Brady, but he's throwing touchdown passes. Okay. Bit, I get a little feeling.
Yes, I saw that. I thought that was great. I thought that was hilarious. It's great.
Yeah, he's a guy, and listen, he's got the Make America Great Again hat. He was at a couple of those George Bush addresses back in the day.
Yeah,
I am under no illusions about being Belichick too, right?
Yeah.
And I had definitely in these 4 years, it's hard to not be a sports fan. It's difficult when there's sometimes where I wish I go, man, I wish I could go back and just not care about sports. Not just because of that, just because of the stress it can be.
Yeah.
The Celtics and the playoffs.
You really care.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I've definitely sort of had a different outlook on sports and the Patriots since it became sort of obvious and apparent where maybe their allegiance lie, even though we don't know 100%, but it's like, okay, I can't give myself fully over.
Ownership, coach, quarterback, when Brady was there.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So I have to be cautious about it. I root for the team. Obviously he's not here anymore, but when he was here, I root for the player to play on my team.
Yeah.
And, I root for him to play well.
Yeah.
I don't know him as a person, so I really can't give any assessment on that outside of what I've seen superficially, which is, he had the hat. I mean, that's the tricky thing with Trump, because before he was president, there were a lot of celebrities who hung out with Trump. And whether or not they knew how he felt about stuff, I mean, I don't think it's any secret that his racism goes back decades, right? But I do think it's easy to, I don't want to say overlook that. I think it's easy to not know that at certain points of time, like in the 90s. We have more access to information now than we have ever had. right?
Yeah,
So
true.
you can easily go Google, well, Donald Trump, Central Park 5, that kind of thing. And you can learn everything you want to know about that. And what you learn is heinous. It's absolutely
It
evil and
is.
heinous, right? But I think with these celebrities, when you're just hanging out in a setting and maybe you don't have all the information on a person, because not everybody's looking up stuff on people, and this is before he's president, I think you don't know. I think Trump, in his circles in Hollywood or in his circles in any
Yeah.
famous grouping, I feel like he might have been kind of that guy who shows up and they go, look,
Yeah,
look
but
what's
come
coming.
on. By the time Brady put on the "Make America Great" hat,
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Trump was out there again. It wasn't.
No, you're right. You're right. And I'm not defending that. And I won't
Yeah,
ever defend that.
yeah,
I'm speaking more of like before
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
campaign
Those
nonsense. I think it was easy to not know. I mean,
maybe.
obviously, Tom Brady is the kind of person who doesn't seem like he'll ever speak on it publicly. I
Yeah.
remember the closest we got to it was when I think Giselle came out and said, "No, we would never vote for that man."
Mhm,
And I truly believe she wouldn't, but
mhm.
I don't know that he wouldn't. So there's that. So Tom Brady, the man, I don't know that I'm rocking with him. I mean, but the guy in the uniform throwing touchdown passes, I just have to somehow, until I can shake this sports fan bug, I
Good
gotta
luck with that. From what I've seen,
come
it's not going to be
on
shaken.
touchdown.
Not going to be. What about Trump? We've got, what is it, 20 some days.
Yeah,
He's talking as crazy as he's ever talked in there, and he's got just only the true believers coming in now for meetings, and he's giving pardons to people who were mixed up with Russia, and he's got Michael Flynn in there saying, a former general, head of military intelligence, saying we should have martial law. We should redo the elections where Trump didn't win. What's your guess? How crazy does it get before January 20? Or is Trump all bluster when it really comes down to it?
I don't know. I mean, everything that's happening right now, I expected. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would call and say he lost because he can't admit that he lost. He has an imbalance where he can't. Everything that is a loss is a reflection on his own insecurities, and he can't deal with that, and he's never been able to deal with that. And obviously, from the stuff I've read, that stems back to his father and how whatever his family is now. I'm not giving him any sympathy. This guy, I don't know what words I can say on this show, but this guy can kick rocks. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It can get crazy. I don't know how much power he has leading up. Like he's kind of lame duck right now, but yeah, the only people he's meeting with right now are the nuttiest of the nutty. I mean, it's like he literally has that old Super Friends cartoon when the bad guys would get together, the Legion of Doom.
Yes.
Like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
This is 1980s cartoon villain stuff.
Yeah.
All right, and it's absurd. But this is what happens. This is what happens when you allow a man who has trouble finishing sentences into the White House as though he earned it. And you talk about him like he's not insane. He's insane.
I can't believe how close to the edge we appear to have come with him so many times. I mean, I roughly understand the system for how you get a bad actor out of the Oval Office, out of the White House. But when it comes right down to it, it's really hard. Nobody wants to do it. No one has done it. And yet he's been walking us up to these lines, leaning over these lines that would break up our whole democratic system, our whole political legacy that we've been so proud of. Talked up was, with puffed chest for centuries. And here's a guy who appears to be taking it apart, and there doesn't seem to be any way to stop it if he really just kept rolling.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that the fact that this man was allowed to do all these things proves in many ways that a lot of what we quote unquote claim to hold dear is a crock. Like how strong could it be if this buffoon can dismantle it in 4 years? How strong is it? Seriously, if the rules don't apply to him, then you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
I've joked about this a lot, but I'm not a history buff, but I do know that over time, democracies fall, right? It's happened for centuries. Democracies fall. But to this guy, to the host of The Apprentice, that's embarrassing. Like I want to at least be able to respect my captors. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like I want
yes,
to be able to be like, hey, let's move. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
hey, he can read. You know, like this is what do you expect? This
Uh,
is insane. Now, not to get off on this any kind of conspiracy tip, but I feel like the Senate is something we must have because without it,
Yep.
even if he'd won the Senate, getting the Senate would have been a big deal.
Still is. Georgia, 2 weeks from now.
Keeping the House as well, because you know what he can do without it is insane. What he can do to us, you need those things to stop him.
Yeah, to have some breaks, to have any breaks, and we'll see what happens. It's all on Georgia now. Stacey Abrams has been bringing out the vote down there.
Stacey Abrams and her whole team, they have done quite a remarkable job in delivering. And I have hope that could happen. I know she's got at least 1 million people who have voted early, and I imagine it'll ramp up to election day. So I'm hopeful for that because the Senate is necessary.
Joe Biden is not a young man. And he said he wants to be a transition to the next generation. Can you see Kamala Harris, president, getting ready to be inaugurated 4 years from now?
I can see it. I mean, it's possible, you know, but there's always some kind of Republican shenanigan, you know, so we'll see. But that's another reason why getting the Senate is so crucial. Because if they maintain power in the Senate and then somehow get the House, 4 years could be, you know, I would say this. Listen to Black women, okay? They are always ahead of the curve on these things.
Why is that?
Because we see this country for what it is, not for what they tell us it is. Because there's no benefit to us from seeing it the way they tell us it is. Because they tell us it's one way, and how many times do they have to tell you it's one way, and you see that it's certainly not that way for you before you start listening to the quote unquote status quo. So I would say, in regards to that, whoever Black women, and to a lesser extent Black people as a whole, are telling you is a problem right now, don't wait until it affects you to go, oh no, wait a minute. So 4 years from now, 8 years from now, they still have tricks up their sleeve, the Republicans. And I would say listen to those because we would not be in this situation if people listened to us in the first place. All these things that everyone thought was done, all these things that people didn't realize was happening because at the time, nobody was filming everything.
Yeah. Right?
I think Will Smith said, you know, racism is not getting worse, it's getting filmed. Mm-hmm. These are things that have been happening. For every one video you see of a Black person being, say, beaten or killed by police, trust that there's 1,000 more you didn't see. Happens all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And on a rare instance where it's a reversal and a Black cop kills a white person and everybody goes, well, where's the outrage for this? Well, because I'm sure that Black cop will be prosecuted. You know what I mean? We need to raise a fuss just to get people held accountable, just for an arrest. So we're ahead of the curve on this because we have to be, because it's part of our survival. We have to know how everybody moves in order to navigate the system. Mm-hmm. In order to prosper in this country, Black people have to know everything about white people. We have to navigate the world that is created for you. For you to prosper in white people, you don't have to know a thing about us. Mm-hmm. So maybe in that way, it's easier for you to sort of not know the truth behind many things. We have to know.
Does Kamala know?
Of course she knows. She has to know.
Just by coming up that way.
Sure. Now you could choose to use that information and what you're now. You can use that knowledge any way you want. Once you are in a position of power, and once you feel you're safe from, say, the problems of an everyday American or an everyday Black American, but you've dealt with it, you felt it, you know it. It doesn't matter how much money you have. People still look at you differently.
Is the media, is Hollywood on top of this? I mean, you look at the shows that have come out after the great cry for more people of color to be directing, for more shows that take on these issues. Do you see that working? Is it? I mean, you pay pretty good attention to media. What do you see that's got its finger on the honest pulse about what's going on?
Well, I've seen definitely a lot more people of color being hired in positions of power, directing, acting, more shows centered around their experiences and told with their voices and stuff. And that's great. The real test will be when things calm down. And will that continue? Because a lot of times these are reactionary hires.
Yeah.
We just want to be seen to look, we're definitely, look what we're doing. Look, see, hiring Black people, check that out. Yeah. Right, but then when it's, I've often said that who used to coach the Bengals up until a couple of years ago? Black man, Marvin.
You'll know better than me.
I can't think of his name right now. Okay. Marvin. Anyway, I always thought he was the coach for like 10 years, maybe longer.
Yeah,
and I said that is probably the only job in America where a Black person's allowed to be mediocre at it, and they get to keep the job. I applaud when we're allowed to just be like, we don't have to be exceptional.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, you can be good, but there's so few Will Smiths, right? There's so few Eddie Murphys.
Yeah,
right. So for us, it's your Will Smith or your janitor number one. And there are many, many great character actors of color. Giancarlo Esposito, people like that, who don't get the recognition.
Yeah.
They work, but they don't work the same way and don't get revered in the same way as the late great Fred Willard or Richard Kind or, you know what I mean? Like those types. Once like a Rondell Sheridan is a household name, and he's just a really good actor who shows up in a lot of things and knocks it out of the park.
Yeah,
we don't have to be the greatest to be looked at as equal. Then I'll believe that things are on the right track.
I don't know, Lena Waithe, Issa Rae. What do you think of their work?
They're great. They're great. They're powerful voices. Yes. Powerful voices that needed to be heard. Yes. And there needs to be more. There needs to be more. The market needs to be flooded. Hollywood has long viewed movie making, TV making through the lens of, say, a white male gaze. Like, it's the show's about you, and anybody of color or any woman, they're just supporting characters. And I think that was a reflection on the world at large in this country too. And I think there needs to be more inclusion in that. There's so many more people who have great perspectives that no one knows about because they're not given the opportunity to tell their story.
I mean, do you watch those shows? Do you watch Insecure? Did you watch The Chi? Have you watched those seasons?
Insecure I've seen. I have not seen The Chi yet. I'm the weirdest dude with TV because I'll lock on the current show, and I'll watch that hardcore, right?
Yeah.
Say Game of Thrones, like I'm on Game of Thrones, hardcore. And then like anything else I watch is usually from the 90s.
Okay.
I watch a lot of retro TV.
Okay. All right.
But I hear The Chi is great, and I do plan to see it at some point.
Yeah. Why the 90s? Was that your Leave It to Beaver? Was that your?
I'm a nostalgia nerd, and I say the '90s, but like I'll watch anything. I'm a big cartoon guy. I'm a big old sitcoms guy.
Yeah.
So like right now, say Christmas time, I like to look up Christmas episodes of any sitcom and try to find it so I can watch it.
Yeah.
Any Halloween, like Halloween's a big one of mine too. So yeah, and especially during this pandemic, when you're in the house a lot, most of my TV viewing has been either a sitcom from the '90s and 2000s, or even much older. I've watched sitcoms that I've never even heard about from like the '50s. Or I watched a lot of the funniest show that TV ever produced in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Get out.
Listen.
Why funny?
The show believes in itself in a way that it shouldn't. The show believes in itself.
Yeah.
It's the worst TV show. I don't know if you remember when Conan O'Brien in like the mid 2000s, he had a lever next to his desk. They like NBC Universal had merged, so they had all the rights to Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
So every now and again he would pull a lever and they'd play a random clip from that show.
Yeah.
And you go, what is that? It's so ridiculous, right? And it'd be a 30-second clip. And it'd just be like, what? I can't believe how funny that scene was. And I'd never watched the show in its entirety up until this span here.
Yeah.
And believe me when I tell you that every second of that show is just as crazy as those 30 seconds that Conan O'Brien would show. So it is the funniest TV show I have ever seen, and it doesn't need to be.
All right.
It believes in it. It comes on every day, 4 times a day, and I watched the entire run over the summer.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe, like, every season ended and people at CBS would look at it and go, "Oh, we need another one of these. Let's do it again. Let's run it back." I can't believe how I highly recommend the show, and I definitely do not recommend the show at the same time.
We got James watching here, says yes to that. Walker, Texas Ranger, so bad it's great. He's down with that.
Walker wrote the show with his brother.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, you know how Walker's legend has grown over the past, say, 2 decades with all the Walker can walk through fire. It's because of that show. And I didn't know that until I watched it. You won't believe how insane this show is.
Things we have done in the COVID year, the great COVID year.
It's incredible.
What else have you done this year that you would not do in a normal year? I mean, I've been stuck at home so much more than in a normal year. I spent a lot more time with my family, like day after day. Feels like Little House on the Prairie because we're just here. We're just here.
Well, I don't do much. I haven't done much this year to really crow about. I mean, January and February.
I'm not crowing.
Was business as usual, doing stand up, and then obviously when this thing hit and they were saying, "Well, guys, please stay home." I'm a homebody anyway. I'm lazy. I don't like, so the idea of staying home. Yeah. Oh, so stay home and watch TV and eat snacks. That's what. Whatever you say, government. Like, understood. So that was fine, but then after a while, you go. This is when we thought. This is back when we were like, "Oh, we got to be in the house till July."
Yeah.
Remember that? Now
yes.
So being in a house isn't a big deal for me. But after a certain point, the idea that you really can't go out, this starts to get a little bit, you go stir crazy. I found lots of ways to keep myself busy. I create a lot, just these phones we have nowadays, you can do so much on it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I make a lot of videos, just goofy stuff. I spent a great deal of time in the end of summer, just like doing dramatic readings of any TV show theme.
Okay, that's COVID stuff.
Yeah, and I'll make videos mostly for my Instagram stories, so like it kind of keeps people, you know what I mean, like kind of bring in fans.
Can you keep your comedic, awareness up when you're not performing? Because it always seems to me that performing and that comedic alertness are all braided together. When you're performing, it forces you. You have to like pull out your best observations, your funniest observations of human nature. When you're not performing, does it wither? Yeah,
it's a muscle. I won't know how much the muscle is weakened until I get on stage live again.
Yeah.
Although I've been, and it's a much different thing, but obviously Zoom shows I've done.
Yeah.
Where you really can't hear the audience because most times you want them to mute their mics.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going on in the background of their houses, right? You don't know if they got a dog or some toddlers running around screaming. So you don't want that distraction. So, but in a weird way, it's made it easier to tell stories. Like I'll tell a story as though I don't have to feel that. There's a weird thing where I don't expect to hear laughs.
Yeah.
Because they're muted. So it frees me up to not worry about whether or not I get them.
But just go.
And then I can tell my stories in the way that I want them without fear that I hope they're getting this, because I can't hear them anyway. So you just kind of go through it. That's a weird plus in all of this. And so maybe once it's time to say, go back on an actual stage and perform in front of a live audience, you might have something, right? Now the timing there, it's going to take time to get back to. I haven't had a hiatus in comedy for more than 2 weeks since the beginnings,
Yeah.
So I can't honestly answer that question.
Yeah.
Until I'm in a live situation again. And I get to know. Now, I've seen my friends that have performed in live stuff and they've done outdoor stuff. They've told me that, it's like riding a bike. You get right back on it. But so that's good to know. But I can't give a personal assessment, honestly, until I do it.
Yeah. And who knows when that's going to be.
I might be finished.
I still feel your nerve endings in there. I think you still got it. I still feel the eyes wide open thing going on. And I like that.
I've tried to put on shows. I did a show on not New Year's Eve. Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah.
I just kind of impromptu. I was like, hey, would anybody be interested in coming and hang out on a Zoom tomorrow night? Because normally, the night before Thanksgiving is a big night out for people, but nobody was going out. So I was like, come out. It'll be me. I just wanted to do a long set.
I saw a little bit of that. The question is, who made this potato salad?
That was a video I made.
Okay.
No, that was a video I made. Yeah.
You gotta act. You gotta act more, man. That was good.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That was a video I made, and so I found some music. I made that last year on Thanksgiving.
Okay, a year ago Thanksgiving. All right.
Yeah. And but that's usually a big question. Like, who made you just can't eat anybody's potato salad, Tom. Can't just willy-nilly.
You got styles.
Potato salad.
You got different styles. This is very true. This is very true.
Thanksgiving is not the day to let new people try stuff.
Well, you don't want to waste that acreage in your stomach on a potato salad that's not just fabulous. So
no, if that potato salad is not tip-top shape, I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh man, are we going to come out of this all right? We're going to get out of Trump all right and get back on something like an even keel? Or are we headed down the COVID plus, I don't know, we tear ourselves apart path? What's your gut?
I don't know, man. I can only speak for what I'm going to do. I am going to stay away from as many people as possible for as long as possible, even after the all clear is all set, whenever that is. Will we tear ourselves apart as a country because of this? We're already doing it. It's happening right now. Will it subside? Maybe. Maybe by the summer. I don't know. People are angry right now. A lot of people are angry for the right reasons. A lot of people are angry for very, very selfish and stupid reasons. And, people that are doing stuff just because you told me not to. I'm proving to you that I'm this. So there's a lot of that ego out there.
Yeah.
Tom, we don't tell people they're stupid enough. we try so hard to avoid telling people that they're stupid.
You'll get shot.
I know, but more people. I would quit comedy right now if somebody would give me like Mandalorian armor and hire me to go door to door, just telling people that they're stupid. You know, that's the thing. People think that everything they think is the right thing to think. I don't know what that sounded like to the people listening, but it made sense in my goofy head.
I'm afraid we're getting more stupid. I mean, the education system struggles. We don't teach people how the country is supposed to work in the ideal state. We've got information sources which are so corrupted and full of bullshit that people marinate in that and come out with QAnon and, you know, all kinds of nonsense. I really worry about this. I really worry about it.
Well, again, a lot of that's deeply rooted in the idea, you know, in the white supremacy idea, or the white supremacist idea that the things that have happened for decades are ideals that they're not willing to let go. So it doesn't matter how crazy the theory, as long as that theory is an aid of them holding on to this power, then that's fine. You know, I mean, if many candidates did a fraction of a percentage of what Trump has done leading up to and being in the White House, that candidate would no longer be viable. I mean, I was too young for this, but I remember reading about this when I got a little older. But in the 80s, was that guy, Gary Hart?
Yeah, Monkey
Business. What did he do? He had an affair with somebody?
Yeah, on his boat named Monkey Business.
Had to drop out of the race, lickety split. You mean to tell me that Trump hasn't done that kind of stuff a billion times over?
We know he has. He's paid him off.
And so then why is that suddenly acceptable? I'll tell you why. And this is the same reason he got in. When he was running for president, I would always say, it doesn't matter what he thinks about healthcare or his foreign policy or education reform. It doesn't matter. The only thing people who are going to vote for him care about, deep down, is that this man hates who I hate. Mm-hmm. That's it. That is it. And he's enabled by a Senate, which is another reason why I was saying earlier, we need to get rid of this. We need a Democratic Senate that support him in a way that you've never seen before. Mm-hmm. No matter how crazy he's gotten, they toe the line. And why is that? And it was a point that I was going to make earlier, and I lost my train of thought, and I tried to cover it up. It was that I feel like there's more to that story. Like, why would people who were so against him leading up to his election, and then after it, all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's the greatest. They didn't even, there was not even they didn't even give us I wasn't in agreement with many of his policies, but in the months after his election, I've met with him many times, and I see his vision now, and I'm coming closer and closer to it. And they could have said that. No, it was immediate. It went from this guy should not be allowed anywhere near the White House to he's the greatest president of our lifetime. Like, why is that?
Well, you think these got pee tapes on all of them? Because there's so many, you've seen it, where you've got the video footage of them, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, right on down, and they're just slaying Trump. They're just cutting him to ribbons, liars, scoundrel, no morals, no nothing. And then, right, they've come out to be big supporters. But you don't think that's just simply politicians looking at the numbers? He won. I'm on his, I see the mojo behind him, and I'm afraid not to be part of it.
I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I mean, at some point, you have got to stop embarrassing yourself. Just forget about the being beneficial to the American people, just to your own self. At what point do you go, I can't back this anymore because he's making me look? How many times would a man be allowed to make fun of your wife to your face before you go, all right, look, we might need to handle this? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I remember that first debate, the first debate between Trump and Biden. And everybody after the debate was like, this was out of control. Both sides were, no. What you had was one man in Trump who was acting like the Tasmanian devil. And a man in Biden who was doing everything in his power not to whoop that man's ass on live television. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times can you talk about my family to my face and the way he was talking about this man's son and his family before I have to say something to you about it?
Hey, take us somewhere else, because we spent a lot of time in that dark place.
Okay.
Take us somewhere else. Take us to give us a little fantasy here. We're in the future. I don't know how far in the future. Maybe it's August of 2021. I don't know. Maybe it's July of 2022. And you're doing a live show somewhere. Take us there. What do you need? What do you want? Paint a night for us. Paint a night where there's an audience and there's a what do you need?
I want it to be a situation where we're healthy and we have a packed house. I need the green room to have lemon lime seltzers and mixed nuts, no peanuts, please. Almonds, cashews, and pistachios. I'm very particular.
All right.
I want everyone to have their own microphone, and I want it to be a nice night outside. I want it to be a situation where we can have a great show. Okay, and then afterwards we can go outside. Maybe it's a nice spring day, right? You know, the kind of day where 72 degrees.
Yeah.
A little bit of a breeze.
Oh yeah.
Everybody can have great discussions. I would like it, since we're talking about the future, I would like everybody to have jetpacks, so that way they can get home easily without having to wait for an Uber. No, I just want to have a night of. I want to have a night of fun. I want to be able to go out and not have to worry about, do you think this person, should I be too close to that person? I like greeting my friends, man. I like dapping people up,
Me too.
And such.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's happening?
I miss it a lot.
like that.
I miss it a lot. Yeah.
This is very.
I'm dreaming of just that night. 72 degrees would be fine.
Yeah.
In a packed house. And I don't know if we're ever going to get it again, where we can just slap the backs and have the hugs and have the big old handshake. And I don't know. I pray we do, but I want it. I fantasize about it.
Yeah, it's weird what 10 months can do to your psyche. It's weird how, when you watch commercials now, and then all the car commercials want you to buy your pandemic Honda. You know what I mean? Come get your We Care About You. Come get your We Care About You Chevy. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird, man. You're right. I don't know if it'll ever be the way it was. And maybe it's been this way for so long that people realize, maybe I don't want to be around this many people, right? Maybe I don't want to be around that many people. Well, so who knows will we have more of the same, or will we evolve into something better? I don't know. I don't delude myself into thinking about something that might not be possible, but I like to remain cautiously optimistic about things.
Yeah.
I try to, kind of feel it. It's like, yeah, possibly, But until that day, I'll be home watching Walker, Texas Ranger.
And I'll be waiting for that day. And I want to be in that crowd on that warm evening. And you can give us some great ones from the
What I will do for sure is, whenever there is a time, whether it be this summer or next summer or whenever, there's a couple of things, I'm glad I just saw this. There's a couple of things that I really want to do. One is, I'm going to organize a ridiculous comedy show, and I want you to be there. And I'm going to get some great comics to perform, and we're going to have a party. It's going to be more than just a comedy show. Yeah. This is going to be a party. And one thing I really, 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 really want to do is I want to have that show. This is my second point.
Okay.
I want to have that show outside during the day.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, 5-ish, 6-ish, on that type of day, weather-wise, so that we described earlier. And I want to have a Dazed and Confused style party at the Moon Tower.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you seen this movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's been years, but yes.
I love that movie. It made me want to be a teenager in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that is, and they had an amazing day. That's the kind of movie that I wanted to be in. And by being it, I don't mean acting it. The world that they had, I wanted to experience it. Yeah. So I would definitely like to do this. And I've actually talked about this with people before.
Yeah.
I like to find an area where it could be done. I'd like to have literally maybe get sponsors involved or whatever. I want to do a comedy show / party at the Moon Tower. And, you know, either have it be one night or a weekend of things. I think it would be so much fun. And the idea of it alone makes me happy.
They say that the roaring 20s are going to come back on the other side of all this. There's so much pent up longing for that kind of joy.
We're not going to be able to drink.
Well, no, except for that. Man, I'm going to get my jetpack and I'm going to be ready. You tell me the time and place, and I'll just come right down and land on the lawn.
The new roaring 20s, I'm going to have a pinstripe jetpack
Yeah.
with the fedora. My helmet's going to be a fedora.
Do it.
I'm going to be dancing like this.
We're looking for the light, and you brought it right there. I want to be there that night, Lamont Price. I want to be there. Keep me on your list.
I'll let you know. I mean this too, by the way.
Yeah, no,
I really want to do it.
I mean it.
And if there's anybody out there who knows how to make this happen, who knows of an area we could use, feel free to hit me up, man. Like, let me know. I want to do this. I've wanted to do this for a long time, but I have even more incentive now. People are going to want to do stuff.
Oh my God!
They're going to need to do stuff.
Yes,
it's necessary.
Yes, no. There's going to be a wave. Bring the vaccine. Bring a population that's safer. Let us see it and know it and feel it, and let's pray that we get to do it just as you described. And I'll be there with my jetpack all painted up nice, and I would love to do it. Lamont, I really appreciate you spending this time with us today. You know,
hey, Tom, I want to know that I didn't embarrass myself today.
You have in no way embarrassed yourself. Sir.
I just, you never know how I'm trying to, talk about real issues, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm the guy. Oh, Lamont said that. I don't know if I'm listening to that. Like if I try to sound with my fireplace, backing me up, maybe it would enhance.
Very sober, very, very, very sober and literary. And we feel, all right. And we're illuminated.
I went off on a couple of rants, and I don't know.
We love your rants. We love your rants.
If I didn't sound ridiculous.
Have a great rest of the holiday, Christmas, New Year's, everything. Whatever you celebrate in your house, I honor it, and I hope it comes off really well. And I'm really grateful to you for being with us. And let's do it again when the seasons change a little bit.
Tom, let me know, man. I'd love to come back on. I appreciate you for having me on. You've definitely impressed a lot of my friends when I told them I was going to be on your show. They were like, wait a second, what? You? I was like, hey, man, it is what it is. And hopefully he doesn't learn more about me before showtime.
Lamont Price, you're a hero to us. Keep it coming. God bless. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. The great Lamont Price, stand-up comic extraordinaire. We'll look for him on that great night when the world is beautiful again. Thanks, Lamont. Yeah. Really great to have you. Be well. Stay well.
You too, man.